The Galactic Conclave had existed for over 7,000 years. 17 spacefaring species lived together under its peaceful rule. Humans were the newest members, having just discovered faster-than-light travel. Ambassador Lee stood in the Grand Assembly Hall on Conclave Station. He felt small among the different alien species. The Phyrexians looked like walking crystals that sparkled under the lights. The Volu floated as purple gas clouds contained in special suits. The Thraxians clicked their insect-like mandibles as they calculated everything they saw. "The Terran Alliance is honored to join the Conclave," Lee said, bowing slightly to the alien representatives. His formal uniform felt tight around his neck, but he maintained his diplomatic smile. High Chancellor Day of the Phyrexians moved forward, crystal body chiming softly. "We welcome humans to our peaceful community. Your species shows great potential despite your technological limitations." Several representatives nodded in agreement. Humans were seen as curiosities, tough little beings from a high-gravity world who had somehow survived their violent tendencies long enough to reach the stars. What none of them knew was that humanity had been listening to their communications for decades before making formal contact. Earth's best scientists had cracked the Conclave's transmission codes 3 years after discovering their signals. Military Intelligence Director Song had ordered complete secrecy while humans learned everything they could. After the ceremony, Lee walked with his assistant Choi through the curved hallways of the station. "They see us as children," Choi whispered when they were alone. Lee nodded. "Good. That gives us time to prepare." In their private quarters, Lee activated security countermeasures that blocked all surveillance. The room hummed faintly as the devices came online. "Our assessment was correct," Lee said to Choi. "The Conclave has no unified military. Each species maintains small defense forces, but nothing that could repel a serious attack." Choi opened her tablet and showed Lee the latest intelligence reports. "We've detected unusual ship movements beyond the Conclave's borders. The Nexari Empire is getting bolder with each passing month." The Nexari were not part of the Conclave. They were an expansionist species from the outer arm of the galaxy. Humans had detected their communications as well, messages filled with conquest plans and resource acquisition strategies. "The Conclave doesn't want to see the threat," Lee said, looking at the star map. "They've been at peace so long they've forgotten how to recognize danger." That night, Lee sent an encrypted message back to Earth. Phase 1 complete. Conclave exactly as intelligence suggested. Recommend advancing timeline for Project Thunderchild. Over the next few months, Lee and his team played their roles perfectly. They asked naive questions about technology and trade. They expressed childlike wonder at alien customs. And all the while they gathered critical information about Conclave defenses, technological capabilities, and blind spots. Lee attended a dinner with representatives from the major species. The Thraxian delegate Jin observed him carefully. "Your species adapts quickly," Jin said, mandibles moving precisely. "Most new members take years to learn our protocols." Lee smiled. "Humans are good at watching and learning." "And at hiding things?" Jin asked with sudden directness. Lee's smile never wavered. "We all have our secrets, don't we? I've noticed the Thraxians never discuss their quantum calculation methods." Jin's compound eyes reflected the light. "Touché, Ambassador." Later that week, Commander Min of Earth's military brought disturbing news. "The Nexari have destroyed a Volu outpost. The Conclave is calling it a navigation accident." Lee frowned. "Did they send investigators?" "A small team. They accepted the Nexari explanation without question." "And so it begins," Lee said quietly. "Send word to Admiral Park. Tell her to accelerate construction of the Nemesis." As Lee stood at the viewing window of the Conclave station watching the stars, he felt the weight of humanity's secret burden. The peaceful aliens around him had no idea what was coming, nor did they understand what humans had been building in the shadows of their solar system, a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Lee touched the window gently. "We'll protect you," he whispered to the stars beyond. "Even if you don't know you need protection yet." Behind him, the Conclave, Representatives continued their peaceful discussions, unaware that humanity was preparing for war. 6 months had passed since humans joined the Galactic Conclave. Ambassador Lee had earned respect among the alien representatives, though most still viewed humans as an amusing curiosity. Behind his careful diplomatic work, Lee coordinated Earth's most important intelligence operation. Admiral Park arrived at Conclave Station as Earth's new military attaché. She brought with her files that confirmed humanity's worst fears. The Nexari are not just testing borders, Park said in their secure room. They've established forward bases in 3 systems near Conclave territory. Lee studied the holographic map showing Nexari movements. Their ships followed patterns that military analysts on Earth recognized immediately. Preparation for invasion. We need to warn the Security Council, Lee said. The next day, Lee and Park stood before the Conclave. Security Council. Representatives from the 7 most powerful species sat in a semicircle. High Chancellor Day of the Phyrexians led the meeting. The human delegation has requested emergency time, Day announced, light refracting through his crystalline body. Please present your concerns. Park stepped forward and activated her display. It showed ship movements, resource gathering patterns, and communication frequencies from the Nexari Empire. Based on our analysis, the Nexari are preparing for aggressive expansion into Conclave space, Park explained. These patterns match historical invasion preparations from Earth's own military history. The council members exchanged glances. Representative Sue of the Thraxians clicked her mandibles, and what humans had learned was amusement. Young species often see threats where none exist, Day said gently. The Nexari are traders with unusual customs, nothing more. Park pointed to specific data points. 3 Conclave member worlds have suffered resource raids in the past month. The Nexari claimed they were navigational errors, but the pattern is clear. Representative June of the gaseous Volu floated forward in his containment suit. We appreciate human concern, but the Conclave has maintained peace for millennia with our diplomatic approach. The Nexari respond well to dialogue. Dialogue won't stop plasma cannons, Park muttered under her breath. After the meeting, Lee and Park walked silently through the station's garden level. Beautiful alien plants created a peaceful atmosphere that now felt at odds with their concerns. They won't listen until it's too late, Park said, stopping to look at a floating water plant. Their peaceful existence has made them blind to real threats. Lee nodded. They've forgotten how to recognize the signs of coming war. We haven't. That evening, they received news that a small Phyrexian mining outpost had gone silent near the border. The Conclave sent a diplomatic vessel to investigate. 3 days later, the diplomatic vessel returned with only half its crew. The survivors reported a misunderstanding with Nexari forces. The Conclave leadership accepted the Nexari explanation and issued a statement about respecting territorial boundaries. Park paced their secure room in frustration. They're being picked apart piece by piece, and they refuse to see it. Lee watched the Conclave news broadcast with a grim expression. Has Earth received my recommendation? Yes. Project Thunderchild has been accelerated. The nemesis is nearly complete. They were interrupted by a soft knock. Representative June of the Volu floated outside their door. Lee quickly deactivated their secure systems before allowing him entry. I apologize for the intrusion, June said, his gaseous form swirling with more agitation than usual. I wish to speak privately. Of course, Lee offered the special seat, designed for Volu physiology. June settled into it. Some of us have reviewed your data more carefully. There are concerns among certain members. Park leaned forward. Then why won't the Council act? The Conclave has not faced true aggression in over 3,000 years. Most species here have evolved past their warlike tendencies, June explained. They cannot recognize the patterns, you see, because they no longer think in those terms. But you do? Lee asked. June's gaseous form darkened slightly. The Volu remember our war with the Ancient Ones. Some memories persist across generations. He paused. What do you humans plan to do? Lee exchanged a quick glance with Park. Protect ourselves and by extension the Conclave. With what? June asked. Your technology is centuries behind the Nexari. Park smiled thinly. Is it? That night after June left, Lee opened a quantum-encrypted channel to Earth. The face of Director Song appeared on the screen. The situation has accelerated, Lee reported. The Nexari are moving faster than we predicted, and the Conclave remains unwilling to acknowledge the threat. Song nodded gravely. Then we proceed according to plan. Deploy the Meridian colony as discussed. It's time to set our trap. And the Nemesis? Lee asked. Ready within the month. May the stars help the Nexari when they face what humanity built, in darkness. Lee ended the transmission and looked out at the peaceful Conclave station. Soon everything would change. The attack on Meridian Colony changed everything. Located near disputed space, the human mining outpost had seemed like an easy target to the Nexari. Their strike was quick and devastating. 3,000 human colonists were officially listed as casualties. Ambassador Lee received the news with a calm that surprised the Conclave representatives. When the emergency session was called, many expected human outrage or demands for military action. Instead, Lee addressed the assembly with measured words. The Terran Alliance mourns our lost colonists. We understand the Conclave's concern for maintaining peace. We will handle this matter internally. The Thraxian representative Han found this puzzling. His insect-like head tilted as he studied. Lee, your species displays unusual emotional control considering the loss of your settlement. We are more adaptable than you might think, Lee replied with a slight smile. That evening, Representative June of the Volu floated into Lee's office, unannounced. His gaseous form swirled with agitation inside his containment suit. This was no accident, June said quietly. The Nexari deliberately targeted your colony. Lee nodded. We know. Then why are you not demanding Conclave action? Even a diplomatic mission? Lee gestured for June to take a seat. Tell me, what would happen if we demanded military response? The Council would refuse, June admitted. They would send diplomatic representatives, and those representatives would return with assurances that it was all a misunderstanding, Lee finished. Just as they have 7 times in the past year. June's gas form darkened. You planned for this. Meridian was positioned deliberately, Lee. Neither confirmed nor denied it. The Terran Alliance understands what the Conclave refuses to see. Sometimes one must demonstrate a threat before others will acknowledge it exists. Across human space, strange activities puzzled Conclave observers. Massive orbital structures appeared around Jupiter and Saturn, then seemingly vanished from monitoring systems. Energy signatures flared briefly near Earth's moon before disappearing. Supply ships made regular runs to apparently empty coordinates. Hi, Chancellor Day requested a private meeting with Lee. The crystalline being's facets reflected light more sharply than usual, indicating stress. Some council members are concerned about unusual activities in human space, Day said. Your industrial patterns have shifted significantly. Lee smiled pleasantly. We're simply developing our infrastructure. New species often experience growth, spurts when exposed to galactic society. These are not normal development patterns, Day pressed. Your energy consumption has tripled, yet your visible infrastructure shows minimal expansion. Different species develop along different paths, Lee replied smoothly. We're simply finding our way. That night, Admiral Park met Lee in their secure room. Her uniform showed signs of travel wear. The Nemesis is complete, she said quietly. Final testing exceeded expectations. Lee's eyes widened slightly. And the other vessels? 3 more hulls under construction. The technology transfer to the secondary shipyards is proceeding faster than expected. Our engineers learned much from building the first. Lee nodded. The Nexari have increased patrols near the Phyrexian homeworld. Intelligence suggests they're preparing something significant. They've noticed our activities, Park said. They're accelerating their timeline before we can organize a proper defense. Little do they know, Lee smiled grimly. 3 days later, a Conclave monitoring station detected unusual energy signatures from the human military facility on Mars. The Conclave sent a diplomatic inquiry, Expressing concern about potential weapons development, Lee assured them it was simply new energy production technology being tested. The explanation was accepted with lingering doubts. Meanwhile, the Nexari continued their subtle expansion. A Thraxian research vessel disappeared near their territory. A small Volu settlement reported resource theft. Each incident was met with diplomatic protests that the Nexari ignored with increasing boldness. The balance was shifting. Both humans and Nexari were preparing for what would come next, while the Conclave continued its diplomatic approach. At a formal dinner with Conclave leadership, Representative Han of the Thraxians approached Lee. "Your people are preparing for something," Han said directly. "The patterns are concerning. Just growing pains as we adjust to galactic society," Lee responded with the same practiced smile. Han's compound eyes studied Lee carefully. "I've analyzed your species' historical data that you provided to the Conclave archives. Humans have fought 17 world wars on your home planet. You are builders, yes, but what you build best are weapons." "History shapes all species," Lee said. "Yours gave you mathematical minds. Ours gave us something else." "What exactly did it give you?" Han asked. Before Lee could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. The emergency system activated, and the central communication channel opened. "Attention all representatives," came the voice of High Chancellor Day. "A Nexari battle fleet has just emerged at the edge of Phyrexian space. All Security Council members report to the chamber immediately." Lee and Han exchanged glances. The gathering storm had finally broken. The Security Council chamber erupted in chaos. The main display showed the Nexari battle fleet positioned at the edge of Phyrexian space. 50 warships formed a crescent formation, weapons charged and shields activated. High Chancellor Day's crystalline body vibrated with distress, sending sharp light reflections across the room. "We are sending diplomatic communications, but they are not responding." The Volu representative June floated nervously in his containment suit. "How many defense vessels can we gather?" The Thraxian military coordinator clicked rapidly on his datapad. "Perhaps 20 ships within response range. Most are patrol vessels, not combat ready." Ambassador Lee stood quietly, watching the panic spread among the representatives. The Nexari force was imposing. Their ships bristled with weapons and their shields glowed with power. "This is your fault." Chancellor Day suddenly turned to Lee, crystal facets flashing with accusation. "Your provocations brought this upon us." Lee remained calm. "With respect, Chancellor, we warned you of this possibility. The Terran Alliance officially requests permission to assist in Conclave defense." The request was met with derisive laughter from several delegates. "With what?" asked Han of the Thraxians. "Your primitive vessels would be destroyed in seconds. Our scans show you have no significant space fleet." As arguments continued, a human communications officer rushed into the chamber and whispered to Lee. His expression changed slightly, just a small smile at the corner of his mouth. "If I may address the council," Lee said, his voice cutting through the noise. All eyes turned to him. "A human vessel has just arrived in the system." "One ship?" The Phyrexian military advisor's crystalline form shimmered with what humans had learned was their version of laughter. "Against 50 Nexari warships?" Lee nodded to his communications officer, who activated her tablet. The main display in the chamber split to show both the Nexari fleet and another section of space near the system's jump point. At first, there was nothing. Then a spatial distortion appeared, a ripple in the fabric of space itself. From this distortion emerged a ship, but unlike anything the Conclave representatives had ever seen before. The chamber fell silent. The human vessel was enormous, stretching nearly 8 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was angular and dark, seeming to absorb rather than reflect light. Where Conclave and Nexari ships were sleek and smooth, this vessel was all hard edges and geometric shapes. Weapon systems unlike any in known space protruded from strategic points across its surface. "By the first light," whispered Day. The main communication system crackled as the Nexari command sent a transmission. "Conclave Station, identify the unknown vessel immediately or be considered hostile." Lee stepped forward. "This is Ambassador Lee of the Terran Alliance. May I introduce the TCS Nemesis, first of our Harbinger-class dreadnoughts." On the display they could see the Nexari ships changing formation, turning to face the newcomer. The chamber remained silent as everyone stared at the human warship. It was vastly larger than even the biggest Nexari vessel. "Impossible," Han of the Thraxians finally said. "Our intelligence indicated humans had no advanced shipbuilding capacity." "You saw what we wanted you to see," Lee replied simply. "Admiral." Park entered the chamber in full military dress uniform. She nodded respectfully to the council before joining Lee. "The Nemesis is requesting permission to engage hostile forces threatening Conclave space," Park announced formally. That thing is armed?" asked Day. "Extensively," Park confirmed. "Captain Min awaits your authorization." The Nexari commander's image appeared on the main screen. His scaled face showed a mixture of surprise and anger. "Conclave Station, we demand information on this vessel. It does not match any known configuration in this sector." Lee looked to Day. "Chancellor, your response?" Day seemed frozen in indecision. The crystalline being had never faced true conflict in centuries of diplomatic service. Park stepped forward. "The Nexari have already destroyed one human settlement and attacked multiple Conclave outposts. They now threaten a founding member world. If the Conclave will not defend its members, we will." "You cannot make that decision," protested the Volu. "Representative." "There are protocols." Park raised an eyebrow. "While you debate protocols, the Phyrexian homeworld is under threat. The Nemesis stands ready." The Nexari commander grew impatient. "Conclave Station, you have 30 seconds to order that vessel to withdraw, or we will consider it a hostile act." All eyes turned to Chancellor Day, who finally nodded slowly. "The Conclave accepts human assistance." Lee smiled and opened his communication link. "Captain Min, you are authorized to protect Conclave space. The Nemesis may engage." On the EUR screen, the dark human vessel began to move toward the Nexari fleet, accelerating with surprising speed for its size. The Nexari ships fired first, energy weapons blazing across space. The chamber watched in stunned silence as the battle began. The battle unfolded on the main display as the council members watched in stunned silence. The first Nexari barrage struck the Nemesis directly. Energy weapons and missiles hit the dark hull of the human vessel. Nothing happened. The massive ship absorbed the attack without visible damage. Its black surface seemed to drink in the energy weapons, while point defense systems eliminated incoming missiles with precision. "Impossible," whispered Han of the Thraxians. "Our analysis indicates those weapons should have at least damaged their shields." Lee said nothing, watching calmly as the Nemesis continued its advance toward the Nexari fleet. Then, the human ship responded. Instead of conventional weapons, strange energies began to emanate from various points on its hull. A rippling distortion spread outward, engulfing 3 Nexari vessels. Within seconds, the ships began to break apart, their hulls crumpling as if crushed by invisible hands. "Gravity manipulation fields," Admiral Park explained quietly. "We developed them for mining operations originally." Next, a focused beam of shifting light struck the Nexari command ship. Where the beam touched, the metal of the hull seemed to age rapidly, turning brittle and crumbling into dust. Systems failed across the vessel as materials deteriorated in seconds. "Temporal distortion weapons," Park continued, accelerating time in a localized field. The most terrifying weapon came last. Dark points appeared near 5 Nexari ships, perfect spheres of absolute blackness. The ships were pulled toward these points, stretching and compressing as they approached before disappearing completely. "Controlled quantum singularities," Park said. "Very difficult to stabilize, but effective." In less than 20 minutes, half the Nexari fleet was destroyed. The remaining ships activated their jump drives and retreated in disarray. The security. Council chamber remained silent long after the Nexari disappeared. All eyes were fixed on the Nemesis, now moving into standard orbit around the Conclave Station. Its massive shadow periodically eclipsed the light from the system's star. "How?" Chancellor Day finally asked, crystal body still vibrating with shock. Your species joined us barely 2 years ago with technology centuries behind ours. We showed you what we wanted you to see, Lee explained. Humanity's history is marked by conflict. While your civilizations evolved toward harmony, we evolved through competition and warfare. You deceived the Conclave, accused a Volu representative. We protected information vital to our security, Park corrected. And today, we protected yours as well. Han of the Thraxians studied the humans with new respect. The construction projects our observers noted in your system. More ships, Park confirmed. The Nemesis is merely the first. We have 11 more under construction. The Terran Alliance formally offers a mutual defense pact with the Conclave. Captain Min of the Nemesis joined them via holographic projection. She was young for such responsibility by Conclave standards, but her eyes showed a focus and determination that made her seem older. The Nexari will return with reinforcements, Min reported. Our intelligence suggests they have 3 more battle groups within striking distance. Chancellor Day's crystalline form shifted uncomfortably. The Conclave has no formal military to join your defense efforts. We don't expect you to fight, Lee said gently, but we will need access to your jump points and supply stations. The War, Nemesis and its sister ships can handle the combat. In the days that followed, the truth became clear to the elder races. Humans hadn't joined the Conclave seeking protection or guidance. They had come as guardians. Violent, resourceful creatures whose evolutionary path had forged them into warriors. The Conclave worlds watched with mixed feelings as 3 more human warships arrived through jump points, taking up defensive positions around key systems. The ships were each unique in design but shared the same dark, angular aesthetic and tremendous firepower. One evening, Chancellor Day requested a private meeting with Lee. Our historians have been reviewing your species with greater attention, Day said. Your world wars, your Cold Wars, your constant military innovations. We failed to understand what this meant. Different evolutionary paths, Lee replied. Your species learned cooperation early. Ours had to fight for everything. You knew the Nexari were coming, Dee observed. You prepared specifically for them. Lee nodded. We recognize the patterns because we've seen them in our own history. Expansionist. Empires always follow predictable patterns. And now, what does humanity want from the Conclave? Partnership, Lee said simply. You have wisdom and knowledge built over thousands of years of peace. We have other skills. Together, we can create something stronger than either of us, alone. As the Nemesis hung in space above the Conclave station, its presence sent a clear message to all watching eyes across the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and the stars would never be the same.